Welcome back. In this section we are going to just straighten the trace a little and modify how we are running against the wall to make it appear that the cover is more of a cover as opposed to just running besides the wall. So this will be an extremely quick tutorial. Let's select the character and open its blueprint. Okay, we're going to go to can move and cover function. So right now the trace is a bit skew. It's running on this angle from the character outwards. We don't want that. Well, you might want that. I want something a bit cleaner, which will come in handy a bit later when we start shooting from the cover to determine can we shoot, stuff like that. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to create a variable. I'm going to call it cover distance, just so I know it's got something to do with distance and cover. Change this to a float, click compile, and you might want to make it editable so that we can just change it after we selected our character. Just gonna save everything quickly again, and I'm gonna set the initial value to 60. Now currently we are just starting straight from the get actor location, so that is gonna fall away, so I'm gonna delete those two reroute nodes. That one didn't delete. Okay, and to get those reroute nodes, what we'll do is we'll get the capsule component. Not to get the reroute nodes, to get the vector that we want to work from. We'll get its right vector, and we'll also get the actor location. You could probably work from the reroute node, but I want to keep it a bit clean and transparent to quickly see what I'm working with, so I'll just move it up here. The right vector will multiply by a value, vector times vector. Okay, so theoretically that's going to be the two values that we are modifying, but because we're working with a float value here, we can just plug it in and convert it to a vector, and that should be sufficient. After the multiplying, we will want a add vector plus, just move it to the bottom, and we want to just add that to the current actor location. And we also want to minus, plug that to the bottom as well, and also want to get the actor location. Okay, so there we should have our left and right values, and I'm going to work from, let's just swap these around quick. So we've got minus top and plus bottom. Just go to the select value or select node, plug that in, and this will be controlled by the same that we have here if we're moving left or right. You can just copy and paste that and plug that into the select node. We could actually plug it in here somewhere, but I want to keep the stuff separate just so it's more clear for me. Okay, and that should then straighten up our trace, but we need to modify these values as well, so I'm just gonna get the cover distance variable and plug it into those values. Okay, so now we should be able to change on the fly what the trace distance is. You can see there's something wrong with the trace a bit. I don't know if what mistake I made, but I obviously did make a mistake here. Okay, so we've got we're getting the right vector, multiplying it by the value. Okay, and then we are adding it to the actor location, and that should be true, and this should be false. So yeah, theoretically this should work. Why it's not working now, I don't know. So I literally did this 5 minutes ago. Oh, okay. So the reason it's not working is because we are rotating, and that rotation is then changing our right vector value. So we need to address this rotation problem. First thing I'm going to do is we'll go to the character blueprint. I'm just trying to find move this. I'm going to create a custom event, and I'm going to call this escape cover. So that's when we are leaving cover. When we do leave cover, we want to change a few things. We want to set cover selected and set covered to false. I'll just plug that in. Okay, then we want to get the character movement, and we want to enable use controller yaw. Maybe just type in apologize. We want to set desired rotation, set use controller desired rotation. So we haven't used this previously, but we need to actually go and disable this at our other section, which we'll do after this. The other thing we want to set is orient rotation to movement, not get. We want to set orient rotation to movement. Okay, plug that back in there, and then we do also need set use controller yaw rotation. That'll have to be false. Okay, so just select all of that, comment it, and I'm going to call this escape from cover, so I know that's what we're doing over here. Go to the top where we have the movement input for forward, and then where it says is covered, we're basically just going to change that to the escape that we just created. So you could just delete that and then say escape cover. That's the custom event we created, so that'll exit this for us. And I believe we also need to do it at the bottom. See, we haven't commented this, so I'm just going to select everything and comment it and say cover. Okay, so there where it says is false or true, and it wants to unset is covered, I'll delete that. I'll set that to the custom event escape cover. Okay, so it escapes the cover there, and right at the end, after we move from component 2, it says use controller rotation yaw sets to false is covered to true, but we need to make sure that the rotation is behaving properly. So we'll get the character movement, and then we'll set orient rotation to movement. We'll set that to false. Just before I continue, I just want to make sure that this is true. So at the escape from cover, the orient rotation to movement should be true. Okay, and then the other one we need to set would be back to move component 2, and that would be use controller desired rotation. Okay, let's just compile and save. So now when we do the trace, it should actually work. Let's check it out. Yeah, as you can see now, the character is not doing the rotation running around the wall. It just uses the strafe, and our traces are straight. So this will become extremely important a bit later on when we do start checking can we actually fire from this position. There'll probably be two fire functions, one that you see where it's blind fire, and then also the one where he steps out of cover. You'll notice he's still a bit far from the wall, so we did create that value and made it editable. So when you select your character, you should see the value under default cover distance. And we can just make that something smaller. We can make it 30. And if we do the cover, he should move much closer to the edge now. Okay, so that's for this tutorial. The next one we'll start working on shooting from cover. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye bye.